Alright, it is Uncle Jam and we are back here with another resource pack video. In this video, we are going to be going over light maps. Light maps are a feature brought to us by Optifine, and they allow us to change the lighting for any light source such as torches or redstone lamps or sea lanterns or things like that, as well as the light maps for sky lighting and the sunset and sunrise, as well as the weather and light maps in different dimensions. That is a lot of things, but we're going to cover them all in this video. So get ready. As you can see here, this is my little demo. Not exactly practical, but I thought it looked pretty cool with the rainbow effect there on the torches. If I reload my pack here, I've set a more natural looking torch that I've created here to try to really emphasize the cool atmospheric effects of the light maps. So as you can see, I've made the torches much more orange. Now without a side-by-side comparison, you may not be able to tell. So if I put a torch here and open up the skylight, we can see here, we have the skylight, which is this lighting here coming straight from the sky, as well as our nice orange looking torches. You can clearly see the orange glow. It's not super noticeable, but I think it's noticeable enough that when you're in-game and playing, it will really help emphasize that indoor lighting with the cool orange effect. So we'll be going over how to do that. We'll also be going over the sunsets and sunrise here. So let me just start off a sunrise, and you can see a little bit of an example of what I have done. Let's head over here, and we can see the sun starting to come up. Kind of choppy just because I sped up the time, but we see a nice purple hue coming in here into a bit of a pink magenta, slowly into red, orange, and then slowly, nicely into the regular daylight color. We'll be showing you how to do things like that in this video. And we'll also be showing you the other dimension light maps. Let's pop in here. As you can see in the nether, I've made it nice and orange, the lighting, and in the end, which is my personal favorite here, I've made the lighting nice and purple to have a bit of a purple Enderman type of glow. As you can see, look at that. It looks pretty cool to have these purple glowing torches in the end. So without further ado, let's get into the tutorial. Alright, so starting off, light maps require Optifine. So keep that in mind. Make sure you have Optifine installed. Now, unlike other Optifine features, light maps don't require any text or written code. They only involve images. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a successful light map image file that you can implement in the game to achieve what you want. So starting off here, let's show you where we're going to install our light map image files. Let's head into our resource pack folder. If you don't know how to get here, check out episode 1 in my resource pack series. Into assets, into Minecraft, and into a folder entitled MC Patcher, which I have from previous tutorials. If you don't have one, right click and create a new folder, MC Patcher, no capitals or spaces. Let's head inside, and in here we need a new folder called Light Map. No capitals or spaces, Light Map, just like that. Right in here is where we're going to install all of our light map images. So let's create our images now. So I'm going to open up my image editing software, which in my case is Pixelmator. Any image editing software will work, and we're going to create ourselves a new image. Now the dimensions are very important. Make sure the dimensions are 16 by 32. This is the dimensions of a light map. Let's pop it open here, and we see we get ourselves a nice rectangle in our image editing software. What am I doing there? Creating shapes all over the place here. Let's get rid of that. And let's just zoom in here. Okay, so here is our light map. Now I'm going to pull a template up on the screen, which I've created, and it will show you guys a little bit about how to edit this light map. Now, as you can see from the image, the light map is divided into two sections of 16 by 16. So it's basically split right in half. Two 16 by 16 chunks. The top half controls the skylight, so the light coming from the sky, and the bottom half controls light sources such as torches, sea lanterns, redstone lamps, and things like that. So we're going to go over both sections here, but we're going to start off with the top section of skylight. Now, as you can see on the diagram, if we just focus in on the top section, we'll notice the X and Y axis each represent something different. The X axis across the top there represents time of day, and the Y axis represents skylight from level 0 to 15. Now, let me explain what those mean. Now, the X-axis is pretty self-explanatory. It represents basically the time of day. You'll notice I have a few markers on there that point out exactly the correct times of day. So on the left-hand side, we have night, which is this column here. And the very far right-hand side, we have a lightning strike, which is the very far right-hand side. And one over, we have daytime, which is going to be midday. So that's pretty self-explanatory. We have all of the times of day across the x-axis. Now, all of this white in between, all of the section in between night and day is exactly that. It's the transition from night to day. So if we're going from night to day, that's going to be the sunrise. And if we're going from day to night, that's going to be the sunset. So it uses the same columns and it just changes the direction of which way it will go depending on sunset or sunrise. Now let me explain a little bit about the y-axis, the light level, the skylight from levels 0 to 15. What exactly does this mean? Well, the best way to explain it is actually to head in game. So let's head into Minecraft here. You'll notice here I am in game, in my test world here. Now, I'm going to actually head down into this little hole, and I'm going to open up my F3 screen. Now, there's a lot of info that gets displayed on here, but if you notice over on the left-hand side, the second paragraph down, you'll see we have the top X, Y, Z. Those are our X, Y, and Z coordinates. Below that, we have block. Below that, we have chunk. And then we have facing. And then we have biome. And then we have light. This is where we want to focus all of our attention. We are going to be paying very close attention to these values. So as you can see, we have light. And we have 15. And then we have in brackets 15 sky and 14 block. This is actually the light levels that are being applied where I am standing, right here. So as we can see, we have a hole here to the sky. If I pop outside here, we'll notice the light is 15 and it says 15 from the sky. Now we want to focus in on the sky section. This is for the top half of our light map. The block, you see where it says 8 block, that's going to be for later on the bottom half of our light map. But right now we're focusing on sky. So we see we have 15 as sky. Now that's going to directly correlate over to our light map. As you can see on our example image, we have 15 at the very bottom of the square. So basically, this is sky exposure. How exposed we are to the sky. Let's pop down here. And what we're going to do is we see that sky is 15. And as my character moves here, it gets sky 14, sky 13, 12, 11, 10, all the way down to 0. So that is going to represent directly across onto our diagram. So let's head back over to our diagram and see what's going on. Minimize here. So we have sky level 15, which is going to be at the bottom row on our light map here. Let's just color it orange, for example. So this is sky level 15. So as you can see, we got ourselves a bit of a graph and a bit of a grid here. So we need to kind of use the diagram to plot out all of the points where we want. So sky level 15 is when we're fully exposed to the sky. So if we want to set the light map for daytime fully exposed to the sky, well, that's going to be this pixel right here, because we are at light level 15 and we are on daytime. So this is going to be the color. So if you want to adjust your daytime lighting color, all you do is you color in this section here, this 1 pixel. So if we wanted it to be red during daytime, we would put red there. Now obviously we don't want that. Usually you want something white and a little bit tinged to yellow. Now, going vertically from this point here, basically we want to decrease the value of this, because basically this is going to be daytime, but now our light level, our sky level is 14, sky level 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, all the way down. These are our levels. So my little trick here is I always set fully exposed first. So let's say this is going to be my fully exposed color. Then what I do is I always will highlight all of these and I will slowly decrease the brightness by a fixed value to make it seem nice and even. So here's my brightness adjuster. Now let's say I want to do 4. So I'm going to type in -4 and it will decrease the brightness by 4. Now I leave that pixel, head back into brightness, and we are going to decrease it by 4 again. This is a simple way to make sure you get yourself a nice even transition throughout your daytime. So as you can see, this is going to be daytime light level 15, this is going to be daytime light level 14, daytime 13, and so on down the line. So let me finish it off here. Alright, so I finished it off here and it reminded me of a few important points I want to make here. The first one is do it column by column. Do this column, then do the next column, and then the next one. It's a lot easier than just trying to randomly do it all at once. So do it each column by column. Now the next thing I want to point out is light level 0. Obviously, because this is going to be when we are fully exposed to the sky, this is when we have no sky. So when we're in a cave, when we're indoors, and there's no skylight. Now, we don't want there to be any light when we're in a cave. So even though here you see this is gray, I don't want that. Even though it follows my nice pattern nicely down, that means when we're in a cave, it's still going to show some skylight. We want to make sure this is black. Because when we're in a cave, we don't want any skylight. Now, in fact, we want to make sure that all of these are black, because at any time of day when we have no exposure to the sky, we don't want to see any light. That only makes sense. So we're just going to make it black even during a lightning strike. Now what if you wanted to do is you could leave this as yellow, and every time there's a lightning strike, even when you're in a cave underground, you'll see a flash of light, which would be pretty weird, but you would know that at least there's a lightning storm. But I'm going to black it out like so. So now let's move on to finishing off our color map here. So we have our daytime all worked out here. So now my little trick, bit of a lazy approach. You can obviously color every single one of these, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to copy and paste. We're just going to copy and paste this a bunch of times to fill up our sunset and sunrise, and then we're going to kind of break down exactly what is going on with all of the different times of day. Alright, so there we go. I've copied and pasted my daylight across all of the transition columns. Now, what you can do here if you want to create just a very simple, easy transition without any color is use the exact same trick we did before. Just highlight all of these and slowly decrease the brightness each column all the way down until you get to night. So I'm going to do that just for demonstration purposes, and then I'll show you how to add a little bit of color into here. Alright, so as you can see, I have finished off my transition. You'll see it will gradually get a bit darker as we get towards night. Now this might be a bit extreme of a curve, but it's always a good starting ground to do this method, and then you can tweak from there how it looks in game, because you never know just from editing this image until you actually test it out in game. Now let me show you how to add a little bit of color into your sky here. So my method is on my software here, I have a little thing entitled colorize. So what I can do here is highlight a bit of a column, and we head over to colorize, and you'll notice I can decide what color I kind of want to make it go to. I can make the saturation less or more, and whatever we want. So if we wanted it to go from red, say a nice light red, all the way down into pink and gradually into a blue night, we could easily do that just by doing this, highlighting each column, heading into our little colorize tool that I have here. Now your software hopefully has something similar to this. If not, you can always just use your little pixel tool here and just kind of color these with the various colors. But this is just a simple trick to add some color in to your sky. So I'm just going to do that for demonstration purpose. And another thing I want to mention is nighttime. Now, pitch black on this is very dark. I've tested it out before, and it is very dark. So what I always like to do is make it actually a bit of blue at nighttime. So there we go. That's going to be nighttime. That might be a bit bright. this is just a little heads up for you guys because pitch black is very dark. So obviously now our transition's going to be a little odd because it's going to get really dark and then it's going to go to a lighter blue. So this isn't the most perfect color map, but it should get the point across and hopefully teach you guys how to create a color map. And once again, I've noticed I've accidentally screwed up the light level 0. So if we were in a cave, remember we want it to be black. Alright, so that basically covers the top half of the light map, the sky section. Now, once again, this light map is not exactly the best, but if you take a look at the light map in my little example demo image on the right-hand side, that's a very nice light map in my opinion, and it looks very good, so you can use that one as kind of a reference point for your own light maps. But for now, let's move on to the bottom half of the light map, which is light sources. This one, in my opinion, is much more self-explanatory and straightforward. Now, as you can see, we have an X and Y axis again. Now, the X axis is flicker, which is flicker of the light, like a little lighting flicker. And the Y axis is block light level, once again, which is in-game, it's the block value. Let's head in here, hit F3, look down at our lighting, and we see block is, as we get closer to the torch, we have block as 14 when we're right on the torch. Once again, I'm looking at light. We see 15, 15 sky, and then we see 14 block. So we have light 14. That's the highest light value we can get. As we get away from the torch, we see block lighting decreases. So that's what we want to keep in mind here. Block lighting is the Y-axis. So how we're going to do this one is we're going to start off with, let's say we want to make a green light. Now, the very bottom row, this is 15. Now, 15 can't actually show up in game, but I'm just going to color it the exact same as 14. That's just a good little tip, just to be sure, even though 15 can't actually show up in game. So we have 14 as our very brightest light, and then all we do from there is we slowly decrease it as we get further away from the light source. If you sort of imagine the light source is at the bottom of the image here, and this is what we want it to look like as we get further and further away from the light source. So let me finish this off here. There we go, we are done our green torch. As you can see, it starts bright and slowly fades to black. Now, torch flicker, what we want to do is make sure we make it very subtle. Torch flicker can sometimes be annoying to some people, and it is kind of personal preference whether or not you want to include it. But basically, all you have to do is on each of these rows, every time, let's take block light level 13, for example. When block light level 13 shows, it's going to pick one of these pixels along here to display, and it's going to keep doing that every tick. And so if we change the brightness of some of these pixels on here, we can create a bit of a flicker effect. If I were to dim it, now you want to make sure it's very subtle, otherwise you'll end up with flashing lights and it's going crazy all around. So as you can see, I just dim it down just the slightest bit. That's probably even too much. Like, honestly, just like the slightest little bit, and we'll get a bit of torch flicker in there. So now let's show you guys how to export these. One thing I want to quickly mention is light maps for other dimensions. Now, other dimensions, there is no sky cycle in the nether or the end. So for this sky, we need to make it one solid color, and that color is going to appear across the entire nether or the entire end, depending on which one you decide. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but you can set the torch light just as we did here for the nether and the end. I'll show you some examples of those light maps at the end of the video. So let's export our document now. We're going to head over to export, and we're going to make sure it's a PNG. And now this is a critical step. What we name it actually decides what dimension it corresponds to. So we're going to type world, no capitals, and then we're going to type either 0 for the overworld, -1 for the nether, and 1 for the end. Now this one we want to be the overworld, so we're going to type 0. World 0, no capitals or spaces, and hit export. There we go, it is now on our desktop, and we are going to install it into that folder that we created earlier in the episode, which is lightmap and MC Patcher inside of there. And there it is. Let's head in game and reload our pack and see what it looks like. We'll hit reload, and no real changes yet. Let's get rid of the F3 screen, and let's head down underground to our torch. As you can see, we have some green lighting. Update the lighting there, and we can see, look at that. That's pretty cool. Our light map is in effect. Our green torches. Now let's check out our sky transitions that we set up with the bit of the red overlay. So let's go ahead and start our sunrise, and we will flick. Oh, we can see the green lighting. That's pretty cool. Flick this one, and we will start our sunrise coming up now. Actually, it is, I think, raining, which is not good. We'll have to cover weather in 1 sec. Quickly change it to clear so we can see our transitions, but we can already see the transitions. We should see a few frames of red, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. There's the bit of a red tinge there, and as you can see, that is how the light maps work. So let me show you a few more examples of the other dimensions, and I'll show you how to do the weather. Alright, so here is 2 light maps for the nether and end that I showed you at the beginning of the video. As you can see, the sky on the light map are solid colors. The nether, we have that solid dark red, and the end we have that solid dark purpley black. So make sure that you keep that in mind for your nether and end light maps, is there's no sky cycle. Another thing to keep in mind is you have to name them world -1 for the nether and world 1 for the end. That's how you make sure those light maps work. Keep them in the exact same folder that we put the other ones in. Now here's a template for weather. As you can see, it's the same template we had before. What the game will do is it's going to pick a fixed column from the light map to display when the weather event is in effect. So as you can see, I've pointed out thunder and rain and what columns the game will pick. This was from my testing, so I hope it is accurate. It may not be 100%. It kind of picks a bit of a combination of those columns, but keep that in mind. So as you can see, my demo light map here, I'll probably want to change it around because right now the thunder lighting is going to be red, and I don't want red to happen when it is thundering. I don't want it to be some kind of red storm, so I should probably change that column around because that is the one that will apply for thunder. And as you can see, rain is also specified on there. So that's how weather lighting works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, stay tuned for more tutorials to come, and have a good day. Let's go, boys, turn up. Yeah! No one's dancing with me. Man, that looks pretty dang trippy.